Hey, what's up everybody? It's TrapGoku, YouTube's favorite Super Saiyan, coming at you with another live review. Today's review, we're going to be looking at Final Fantasy VII Remake, the highly sought after and anticipated remake of one of gaming's most beloved RPGs. So let's get down into it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I had my doubts about this game, especially after Square announced that it would only be covering the Midgar section of the game, which is roughly about the first 5 or 6 hours of gameplay. I was a little bit skeptical at first, but after getting my hands on it and playing it, there is a lot of content to unpack in this game. And for those of you wondering if this was actually going to be like a full 30-hour, 35-hour campaign, don't worry, this is a very long campaign. And there is a lot of stuff to do, especially in the post game and in the new game plus. So let's get into it. So, first thing I want to say is this game looks absolutely beautiful. Final Fantasy VII Remake, you can obviously tell that there was a lot of time, attention, and detail put in each one of these character models. Each one of the locations that you go to throughout the game has an incredible amount of detail, and honestly, the presentation of the game is just beautiful. From the moment Cloud jumps off of that train to the very final moments where you and your party leave Midgar, it is really just one of the most beautifully presented games. And even the new areas that are updated from the old areas in the Final Fantasy game look completely beautiful and revitalized. And I feel like that's the big notion of this game, is revitalization. This game is incredibly dope, incredibly well crafted, and it's just got so much life in it that honestly, it's hard to overlook. Getting into the nitty-gritty of the game and the story is pretty much the same from the original Final Fantasy game, minus a couple added details and, things like that. The story pretty much stays exactly the same. You and Avalanche trying to bring down the Shinra organization and also stop the main antagonist Sephiroth, who appears very early in this game. Spoilers for that. Because he didn't really appear in the Midgar part in the original game, but in this game he appears quite a bit throughout the story, so it's very interesting to, get to actually interact with him and actually fight him throughout the game. It's pretty interesting. I have to say, the characters are another big part of the game that really sells this game for me. Clouds, with the voice acting and things like that, the characters are given new life and actual characterization. Jess, Wedge, and Biggs are now easily my favorite characters, even though in the original game they kind of come off as a little bit of lifeless nobodies, even though they do have some interesting arcs. And it's kind of good that this game, the remake, explores the arcs of those three characters. Also, the main cast of Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, their characterization is so good, and the voice actors did a really good job. I mean, all the voice actors throughout this whole game did a really good job bringing this game to life, and it really sells the experience for me. Really, just flat out, just dynamic, great voice acting. 10 out of 10. Gameplay wise, now getting into the gameplay's changed up a lot since the original Final Fantasy, and one of the bigger things that people will notice is this is no longer a turn-based game or a turn-based RPG. In fact, it's actually involved a real-time combat system. Through the use of the ATB bar, you can do your special abilities such as Cloud's super slashes and Aerith's laser beams and things like that she can shoot. I mean, they're not really laser beams, they're more like mana beams, but you guys get where I'm coming from. Along with your basic attacks. So you use your basic attacks to build up your ATB bar until you can actually create actions. It actually takes me back to a little bit of the Mass Effect gameplay, because in Mass Effect you had this bar that you had to utilize, and the slowdown for this was gives you a slowdown menu, or kind of like a time slowdown, so you can actually change through your characters or select the special actions that you want them to take throughout combat. And I have to say, combat is really dope, just based on the builds that you can use, because you can also modify your weapons as you level up and use them to unlock new special abilities, special attacks, and passive buffs that can really make your character stand out and defeat those stronger bosses and enemies that you'll later find in the end game and in hard mode. That's another thing I wanted to bring up is hard mode. So once you beat the entire storyline, you actually get access to hard mode, which gives you a plethora of new villains, new enemies. Well, not new enemies per se. Well, I mean a couple new enemies, but it gives you access to pretty much a more difficult version of the game, which a lot of people, and myself included, love about this game, because hard mode is actually really challenging, and in a good way. Because it lets you do a lot of experimentation with different character builds, different materia combinations, and just gives you an overall feel of just, this is a meaty game and this is a lot of stuff to unpack. Now, I will say that with that, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because the meat of this game, some of the stuff could be like, cut out of the game. I'm not gonna lie. There was some of the mini games were kind of like, you can tell they were like, okay, let's pad this game out as much as we can so that we can kind of get an authentic experience. Like the arms mini game that you play on the collapsed highway, that was kind of should have been optional. The dancing thing, I mean, it was cool the first time, but the fact that that's not optional and that you actually have to play through that. And like I said, some of the added liberties that Square took to this game, they could be hit or miss. Most of them were very good hits. I would say like I said, the mini games and some of the like story elements, like with Leslie and stuff like that, they weren't necessarily needed, but at the same time, it is what it is. All in all, I have to say, Final Fantasy VII Remake is probably one of the best games to come out this year. And that's just all honesty, and I know I have a little bit of a bias towards that, because I love playing RPGs. They're like my bread and butter of life. But, I say this with a grain of salt. If you want an experience that's just going to be fun, and you're not looking for, like, say, anything like brand new, because like I said, the story's not nothing brand new. I mean, there are some parts that add everything. I feel like this game is just for you. And like I said, the battle system carries this game a lot, because there's so much stuff you can do. Even as I play it continuously, I'm still finding out new stuff about the battle system. If you want to get a sneak peek at that, check out my live stream on my channel. I live stream the whole game, and I'm in the middle of my hard mode playthrough. I'm almost done. So check it out, guys. Shameless plug over with now. And yeah, now the big question is this game worth full retail price? At the time I'm talking about this game, you can get this game from Amazon for about $49.99. That's probably going to be like $55 after tax or something like that, or from Walmart. And it comes with some pretty nifty additions to the game, such as character cards and different things like that. And yes, I do believe this game is worth a full price pickup. This game is extremely fun, extremely well versed, and it knows what it's trying to do, and that's what a lot of games kind of fail at. Final Fantasy VII Remake knows exactly what it's doing, what it's trying to do, and the messages that it's trying to convey. And I have to say, it's definitely worth that full price pickup. Anyway, this has been another TrapGoku review. If you guys like the channel, please rate, comment, and subscribe. All of these things help my channel grow. Also, if you want to donate to my Patreon, link to the description will be the link will be in the description box below, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another TrapGoku reviews. Hopefully I'll have more videos coming out in the near future, depending on my work schedule and different things like that. And guys, check me out on stream. I'm usually streaming on YouTube, so I don't really like the Twitch streaming too much, even though it is kind of a bigger platform. But hey, check me out whenever you guys have a chance, and thank you guys once again for coming through. You guys have a wonderful day. Love you guys.